Hi, it's Father Bill Barron. I'm back with another video on the spiritual exercises of St Ignatius of Loyola, trying to use these principles to help us to discern. We all need to discern in life. There are many voices that speak to us every day, and only one of those voices is authentically the voice of God. And the spiritual exercises of St Ignatius of Loyola helps us to learn God's language, and also the language of the devil, of the world, and of the flesh. The three traditional enemies, I guess you could say, of God. And so, again, the flesh is just the preoccupation with the physical and forgetting that you have a soul. The devil is, well, the devil, the fallen angel, and his demons. But then the world is the idea that this world is all there is and that there's no thing above it. And we see that a lot. I mean, we see all three of these things a lot in these days. So we're walking through the rules, and we're at rule number 6. And rule number 6 is very easy to understand and shouldn't take a whole lot of explanation. We will read it to you here. Although in desolation, we ought not to change our first resolutions, it is very helpful to intensely change ourselves against the same desolation, as by insisting on more prayer, meditation, on much examination, and by giving ourselves more scope in some suitable way of doing penance. So again, to remind you where we left off with number 5, about desolation. Desolation is when we feel uninspired, unenlightened, and feel moved to low types of things, temptations to do sinful things, things that we know are not in our best interest, that won't glorify God or help our neighbor. Desolation also is the feeling that God's not around. And we've had those feelings before, of course. Oftentimes they build on the natural situations that we find ourselves in that are sad or lonely or disappointing. St. Thomas Aquinas says that grace builds on nature. And so sometimes when we are in a bad spot, that can be a place of temptation for us to be in desolation. But when we're in desolation, it's important to remember that God is still with us, as long as we choose to have him with us. And that it's most important that we do not choose against God, against his teachings, and against praying and being in touch with him. So maybe to boil down this 6th rule, we want to continue on doing what we normally do and what we know to do, what we know is right when we find ourselves in a time of desolation. So, for example, if when we felt God's presence, we made a promise to God in that time, or made a change or an addition to our lives. We promised to, say, go help out at the soup kitchen. I mean, maybe we do that once a month or once a week, who knows. Or we promised to pray the rosary, or start praying morning and evening prayer from the Liturgy of the Hours, or go to daily Mass, or go to confession once a month, or something like that. We make promises. We tend to make promises when we feel up. When we feel down, we're going to rally the troops, right? We're not going to, go out in the new territory. We're going to kind of pull back in and, kind of say to ourselves, what the heck is going on? And let's kind of figure out what's going on. And there's always going to be moments of temptations to despair when we feel like God's not nearby, or when we're going through something in life that is bad. So what Ignatius tells us to do in the 5th rule is keep on doing what you promised to do when you felt God's consoling presence, when you felt God was leading you and you felt peace in adding or changing something in your life to get you closer to God. Just because you don't feel that way anymore doesn't mean you stop doing it. You keep doing it. And what the sixth rule tells us is that you actually, when you feel in a desolate spot, you want to actually do more in a certain sense, right? You feel like you have that kind of rally the troops, kind of circle the wagons and, pull it together type of thing where you want to go into a cocoon and kind of huddle down for safety's sake. But really what Ignatius is telling us here is that you really should pray more. If you don't feel God nearby, that means you need to pray more. The novice in the spiritual life will say, well, I'm only going to pray when I feel like I'm getting something out of it. And if I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it, I'm going to stop doing it. Well, that's exactly the wrong thing to do according to St Ignatius. What you need to do is you need to pray more. And also Ignatius says meditate. So that'd be like meditating on the rosary or doing the Stations of the Cross is a good meditation. Examining yourself, doing penance, giving some more thought to your situation. Now, for some people that may be helpful, for some people that may not be helpful, it depends. If you struggle with scrupulosity and you find yourself in a bad spot, you might dig yourself into a deeper hole by, just examining what's wrong with me. It's kind of like we might go into the kind of shame cycle there where we're kind of just compounding our guilt. But it is a good thing to look and see, what's going on. What's going on around me maybe is better than what's going on inside of me. You can take an inventory of what's going on around you, what your circumstances are, and then probably take an inventory of, well, how can God help me through this? And how has God helped me through this in the past? Because if he can do it, if he did it before, he can certainly do it now. And he can certainly do it in the future. So that's what I think Ignatius means by taking inventory. And if we're in desolation because we've done a mortal sin or we've betrayed God or betrayed somebody, then that's when we do penance, right? We go to confession, maybe we fast, we get on our knees, do a holy hour on our knees. Maybe we abstain from eating meat on a Wednesday or a Friday. Those are good things that put the soul back where it belongs in ourselves. So this is the sixth rule. And basically, when we find ourselves in a desolate place, we do more intentional things to reconnect to God. It's like shooting up the flare to get God to reply, right? You don't stay stuck and lost. You go up to God, and we know that God will be there to help. So if you like the video, please press the like button above. We always need new subscribers for the YouTube channel, new followers on the Facebook page. And if you aren't watching on YouTube, you can comment below. God bless.